The 2024 election season has officially begun, and voters are heading out to the polls and casting their votes for who they think deserves their party's nomination in primary elections. But in states with closed primaries, voters can find themselves not being able to vote for the candidate they want or excluded from voting entirely.
If you were to hypothetically describe what's happening in this country to even an average American, but not say it's America, right? Say, hey, there's a country where when you vote in the general election, half the time there's only one person on the ballot. Almost every time it's an uncompetitive election. And half the voters in the country are barred from the first round in many states and or limited. And even the voters that can participate are segregated into warring camps. And people would say, well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't sound democratic. Where is that? What strange, country has that system? But that's us. That's our system. That's the democracy that we talk about.
In states with closed primaries, voters are limited to voting for candidates matching their registered party affiliation. This system effectively eliminates independent and unaffiliated voters from participating in contested primaries in their districts, and stops voters from the opposite party from crossover voting. An analysis of publicly available voter data by the Lee Public Service Journalism Team found 2 out of 5 registered voters in the districts with contested U.S. congressional primaries in the 2022 midterms were barred from casting ballots in those races. Almost a third of federal and state partisan primary races outright decided who won the office ahead of the general election, leaving many represented by elected officials they didn't even have a chance to vote for.
As I started to get more involved into politics, I found myself leaning more towards independent rather than either Democrat or Republican. With Pennsylvania having closed primaries, I was forced to essentially choose either registering as Democrat or Republican, and that led me to register as Democrat, even though I don't really identify myself as a Democrat. It's more so just a vote in primaries.
A bipartisan policy center examination into the 2022 midterm primaries found that open primary states did have a higher voter turnout on average than closed primary states. In fully open top 2 or top 4 primary states, the average voter turnout was 24.5%. Average turnout was 21.5% in states with semi-open primaries, and only 20.7% in the states with closed primaries.
Voting is a culture. It's a muscle. And when you're actively prohibiting people from voting in one of 2 rounds of elections, you are actively minimizing the chances that they will vote in the second round, even if they technically have access to it.
Open primary efforts are opposed by some political leaders and partisans who think only their party members should choose candidates for the general election.
The main people who are opposed to this are the professional political class, who draw their livelihoods and identity from partisan politics. For your average person who likes having more options and likes having more competition in the marketplace, it makes all the sense in the world.
John Johnson, a research fellow at Marquette University's law school who has researched the effects of open primaries, says crossover voters generally aren't acting with nefarious intentions.
It really seems like it's mostly people just voting with the party that they prefer, and then when they cross over, it's because they're genuinely feel some stake in the contest that's happening inside the other party. If you're an independent who is often ideologically aligned with the party, but not firmly committed to it in this identity-based way, you might prefer more insurgent kinds of candidates, which is not what the party leadership wants.
Advocates for open primaries say it would help drive voter engagement and push candidates to appeal to a wider range of voters, not just their core supporters.
Is it going to fix everything for our state in a year or 2? No, that is not the expectation. But what it does do is introduce more competition, which incentivizes people to listen to and appeal to a broader range of perspectives than they have to right now, where they are protected through a monopolistic closed system.
I would recommend that people promoting open primaries in states that don't have them just point to the many, many examples we have of it working great. And it's still reflecting the will of, in broad terms, that party's supporters.